This is my villain era. It's about the so-called villain, the person who gets labeled as selfish, difficult, or problematic the moment they start setting boundaries and choosing themselves. Here, we explore how saying no, protecting your energy, and refusing to people please turns you into the bad guy in other people's stories. But here's the truth. Your villain era isn't your downfall. This is your hero's journey. And this is for anyone who's been cast as the villain for simply refusing to abandon themselves anymore. Hey, friends, I'm Victoria, and I'm so excited to share with you a conversation with my good friend Christy today. Let me introduce you to her. Christy Meaux is a founder and owner of Cohesive Confidence. She's an accomplished entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience in business and brand strategy, color analysis, and also mortgage lending. Her professional experience also spans marketing, creative outreach, making her a dynamic force in helping women entrepreneurs and small business owners to think outside the box to achieve their full potential. Doesn't that sound lovely? Christy is known for her authentic approach to building relationships, adding value, and empowering others with a passion for fostering success and creating community connections. She's here to share her wealth of knowledge, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you put on your path to cohesive confidence. Welcome, Christy. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for this conversation. I can't wait to see where it leads us.
I know. I think we're both a little bit on the chatty side. So I'm like going to have to limit myself to an hour so we don't completely go off the rails. But one of the reasons I wanted to have you here talking with us was what's interesting. We're still in the pre-recording phase, and I'm going to be launching the podcast in a couple of weeks. But what I've heard from so many women who are like, I need these conversations. I need to talk more about this in my life. And I really think that this whole phase that women of a certain age are stepping into, where they're like, I'm going to really live my life authentically for me and live by my own rules. And for a lot of us who grew up and like, I know I'm a recovering people pleaser. There's like a lot of kiss in the ring, hypervigilance, like whatever you want to call it. A lot of that type of behavior, sometimes it feels uncomfortable to live authentically for you. And one thing that I've always admired about you, Christy, is that you come into a room and you're like, woo, like you got it going on, right? And I would love for you, well, I'd love for you to bottle your confidence, right? But I would also love for you to share with people your story and how you got here and how we can use that same strategy to help people cultivate their own authentic confidence. So again, when they walk in that room, maybe they don't know anybody, maybe it's a new networking group or whatever, they have that confidence to show up authentically 100% as themselves.
Sure. And thank you so much. What like a bucket of compliments. I will take them all and carry them with me because I will tell you that's part of the secret sauce of cultivating confidence. It's not that everything that we have to create for ourselves, but we have to be willing to receive all of that encouragement and courage, root word there, within ourselves, but also from those that we trust to have around us. We are not obligated to have everyone in our circle. And I think that's where a lot of the noise, that's where a lot of the noise becomes a distraction and we start to lose ourselves. Because we get caught up in this hamster wheel of feeling like we have to fit in and show up everywhere to get even a bite of the cake. That's not true. We see bigger growth when we start getting incredible clarity on the rooms that we get to walk into. Notice I said we get to walk into. These are not rooms that we should walk into. These are not rooms that we need to walk into. These are the rooms that we're choosing to show up and be part of because we know the value we bring is going to be reciprocated with the other people in the room. That is the measure to start building and cultivating confidence from a professional and a personal standpoint. So there's a lot of nuggets in everything that I just said there, but let me back up a little bit. My story, now look, I just turned 50 at the end of 2025, and I did that on an audacious solo trip to Europe. I went to London, I went to Paris, saw a friend in Paris, came back to London, and then back to Texas. That took extreme courage, and you don't have a good time going overseas by yourself without confidence. Guarantee it. But for me to get to 50, I had to go through a lot of really challenging seasons. Long story short, I have rebuilt my identity twice in the past 6 years. Neither of those experiences were the result of anything that I did personally. These are life circumstances that have happened around me or to me. And I had to, one, allow myself to grieve these things that were happening, but I also had to make a decision. Making a decision is really hard when you don't know what the end result is going to be. Making decisions for how you move forward, what steps do you take? How do you take them? Where do you take them? Who is taking them with you? All of those are big questions that you get to answer for yourself. It is not easy. And I don't share my story for pity, but I also share my story because I think there are a lot of other women who have been through things similar who don't know how to get where they want to go. So I came into 2023 after a significant grief period where I had 8 losses in 15 months, 8 of them. And the last 3 of them happened within a week from the end of August into September of 2022. I found professional help for my mental health in the medical field. You know, it had been a journey to even get that far, but knew I needed to wake up. I needed to be able to walk in to a restaurant and not fall apart, especially if I saw someone that I knew casually in a professional setting and met with that head tilt of pity. And that's a very hard thing to absorb because then it becomes having to not only navigate my grief, but also taking on the grief or the sorrow of the person who sees me experiencing grief. It's a very heavy load to carry. And once I got that help that I needed, I started putting things in place that I knew I was coming into 2023 with a new word of the year that gave me the courage to bloom. And that was my word. I was going to bloom into my own brand. I was branding myself, no longer branding somebody else's business for my success to be defined by someone else. I bought my domain. I started attracting all of these incredible opportunities where I jumped in from retail lending into wholesale lending, had more autonomy on my mortgage business. I was invited to get a certificate in business strategy, which I completed. I also started copywriting. So I was helping women do copywriting for their websites, their professional bios, all of that. And then also helped launch a skincare brand as one of the first 50 people who were involved. And I got to be a part of that from the ground up. All of these things completely unrelated, but I was excited about them all. And there was a networking group that I was a part of. And the prompt that day was, tell us your name and tell us what you do, but don't tell us the name of your company and don't tell us your job title. Were you in the room that day, Victoria?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so.
Okay.
So what did you say?
Okay. I said, my answer was, my name is Christy Meaux and I create cohesive confidence. How did I get there? Because once I realized what the common thread was between these 4 different services that I had access to, I could answer that question. I could create curiosity, but I was speaking absolute truth. And this was the measuring block for everything that I have done since that day. So since 2023, everything that I have done personally and professionally has taken root in confidence. If it doesn't increase confidence for myself, for those that I serve, or my community, it is not in the right space for me.
I love
So
that.
here I am today, having built cohesive confidence into an LLC business that does business and brand strategy, color analysis. And recently I got to come back to the mortgage space after a year hiatus in that marketing and brand strategy opportunity, supporting one of my dear mortgage broker allies. And she and I are creating a really great team where we get to help women and veterans all over the United States with confident mortgage solutions.
That's so important because, helping people find a home it's just life changing.
Yeah, it's a challenging environment, especially when people don't necessarily know how it works or why it works and all of the pieces that come along with that. And being able to, one, be a trusted partner with that person and their real estate agent, navigating all of the legal things that come up in the mortgage process where we're verifying assets and income and ongoing opportunities. We want to be successful for our clients. I mean, there's nothing better than sitting at that table and being able to hand keys over and saying, "Hey, welcome home. I can't wait to see the memories that are made." And even just yesterday, I had previous clients of mine on Facebook celebrating 5 years in their home.
Oh,
And I made a comment that it was such a sweet thing to see all of the wonderful memories they've been able to create in those 5 years. And her comment back to me was, "You made this happen for us, and we are ever so thankful."
oh, isn't that
Unbelievable.
wonderful validation?
Incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So it's clear, like, just like everybody, okay, we have these things like you've had a lot of loss in your life. You have had a lot of hits, you might say. Like, I know that there was a phase where I was like talking to my husband, I said, just punched in the gut again. Like, come on. When you're in that space where life doesn't seem to be working for you, how do you still come at life from that air of confidence, knowing that like things are going to get better and that also you're worth more than what you have now? Like the junky stuff that comes up, like how I always think of it is like, I deserve more than this stuff that's happening right now. So
Yeah.
how would you react in that type of environment, and what would you say to people who are going through that right now?
The number one thing is give yourself permission to be sad about it. There is this misnomer in society that creates this expectation of you get a few days to be sad about something, but then it's time to get over it, put your bootstraps on, and get up and go. I tried that, and that's not the answer for me. That doesn't work. I get to be sad. I get to be angry. I get to be upset. I get to be quiet. I get to have my mental health days. I get time to process and take care of my nervous system. Some of the tools that I use that I have found to be very helpful for me is creating a morning routine that allows me to step into each day more and more confidently as each day comes. That includes having an alarm that goes off at 5:30 in the morning so that I can hit snooze a time or two, permission granted. But also I get to go to the gym in the morning at 6:30. I'm there for 2 hours. 30 minutes I'm stretching, 40 minutes I'm working out, or 20 minutes I'm in the massage chair. It's a good little morning session. Allows me to wake up, allows me to feel strong and move my body, get some endorphins going. And I come home, I fix myself breakfast, I get ready for the day, I sit down, I do my gratitude journal, I do any reading that I want to, I review my calendar, and I don't look at my email until 10 o'clock on most days
Hmm.
because that is the system that works well for me. But in order for that morning to work well, I need to make sure I have an evening routine that supports that 5:30 wake up. Because if I'm
So
going to
what's
try
your
to go to
evening
bed at
routine?
midnight, well, my evening routine, it means I'm not going to bed at midnight. I'm more than likely going to be sitting in front of the TV, really disengaging my brain from whatever chaos the day brought. I'm not going to make a worry list of everything that I have to do tomorrow because that's still going to be there. If I want to do an end of the day journal, which is something I'm really working on and would love to have be part of my evening more consistently. I'm not perfect. I don't live in the world of perfection. I love being perfectly imperfect, if we will. But I have an alarm that goes off on my phone at 6 p.m. That alarm is shut the computer down, step away, stop working. The reason being is because I'm alone, I will have a tendency to sit here and sit in my computer, like in front of my computer, doing all the nonsense, adding more things to my to-do list. Because an empty to-do list for me is not necessarily the healthiest way to go about something. But I shut that alarm off and shut it down at 6 o'clock so I can actually get dinner by 6:30, 7 o'clock. Then I allow myself to sit in front of the TV for a couple of hours. And somewhere between 9 and 10, I'm going to shut it down and go to bed. It's usually around 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm getting up, going, brush my teeth, put on my pajamas, and I'm in bed by 10. But I also know that in order for me to have a good morning, I have to have a good night.
That is so true. And I've heard that from so many experts. It's not just about the morning. And one of the things that I have been trying to do is when I was really first coming out of a lot of family drama that I had experienced, I had a gazillion step nighttime routine because I was just trying it so hard to calm myself, reset my nervous system, that sort of thing. But I haven't really set a nighttime routine for this time in my life now. So I've been sort of playing around with a couple different things. My husband was kind of laughing at me last night because I was starting to get into meditation before bed and I got out my tuning fork and all the things. And he's like, "What's happening?" I'm like, "I'm
Right.
relaxing
Well, I
before
mean,
bed."
there are times like once a week, I'll do a collagen mask on my face, and it's not an everyday thing, but the skincare piece for me, I shifted from calling it a routine and calling it a ritual because the mindset around doing something that is a ritual is like, this is a treat. It is a
Yeah.
way for me to have that elevated experience, but to take care of myself at the same time. And it's such an important thing. Some days it's going to mean going to get a pedicure. Great. You're not going to do that every day or every night before bed. Maybe it's putting foot cream on. Maybe it's, you know, adding that collagen mask or washing sheets and sliding into the bed right after a nice clean shower. That's like next level. These are things they don't have to happen every day, but if we get to do little things for ourselves here and there that do allow us to feel better about the way we move through the day, give yourself permission to do it. Saturdays and Sundays, I'm not waking up to run out of the house at 6:30 in the morning. If I wake up early, I will 100% lay in bed till about 8 o'clock
Mm, yeah.
because I can. And I'm okay with that. And then I might go fix breakfast and sit in front of the TV and watch the news in the morning, play games on my iPad or listen to an audiobook and welcome the day a little bit slower. That's great for me too.
Yeah. And I think that people who are coming out of people pleaser mode, so this is what I've experienced. I'm talking with other people about this and they're experiencing the same thing too. If you've been a people pleaser for a long time, that means you've been focused on everybody else but you. And maybe you haven't been giving yourself permission to have that luxurious nighttime routine that's I do like to put this heavy balm on my feet and put socks on and get into bed and get my book and all of that. That's not expecting too much for yourself. And I think that that is a habit, right? We have had a habit, many of us have had a habit of accepting crumbs, not the whole slice of cake. And it isn't too much for you to expect to have that luxurious, relaxing time in the evening, to take more time for yourself. It isn't too much for you to invest in yourself. And I think that when we make that shift and really start to think of it as an investment, in ourselves, there's something that magically happens. I don't know. I'm finding that this year I've been really proud of myself because I've invested some money in some courses right away this year. One of which was a face yoga course that I'm all into right now. But I'm like, that's investing in me. That's taking care of me. And I don't have to ask anybody else's permission to do that and to put myself first. So I think that's such a great point about even just having a simple routine, or maybe you have your cream or maybe whatever it is. That's not too much. It's not too fussy. You deserve to have that time to wind down in the evening so that you can have a good morning.
Yeah, and sometimes it is as simple as buying something at the grocery store that isn't on sale because you know that it's good for you and it's going to make you feel better. Then go get it. Don't wait for permission from that sale ad to tell you that you need to go buy it right now.
Yeah,
You know, it
absolutely.
it there's all of these little micro ways that we can really embody our own confidence to make these decisions that serve us on a more intrinsic level for greater extrinsic results.
I love that so much. And you're right. It doesn't have to be something huge. But I think for me, I have to remind myself still that, like, a couple times throughout the day, that if I'm not careful, I can easily again fall into that people pleaser, hypervigilant, high performance, da 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 da, da, get into that mode. And then by the evening, I'm totally wired and it's really hard to go to sleep. And so learning that taking time for myself is like, that's the investment I need to make in myself right now is, I've been trying to do 3 times a day. And then before bed is the fourth of just taking a few minutes to just, I mean, some people call it meditate. I don't know. Like, I can't meditate for an hour, but I can sit in silence and just let
Mhm.
all of the thoughts leave my brain. And that is a gift.
So I'm going to show you this little bitty tool. It's tiny. It doesn't take up much room on my desk. But what this has allowed for me to do is in a world where so much activity happens for me around my phone, personally and professionally, it's very easy for me to be attached to a device 24/7.
Mm.
I don't love it. I definitely am working on balancing that a little bit easier for myself. And one of the things that I did was I bought this little Pomodoro timer. It's got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 25 minutes, and 50 minutes. It's a little timer. I set it down, say I'm going to work on something or meditate, or even my gratitude journal I set for 10 minutes. It doesn't mean I have to sit here and spend 30 minutes writing down or journaling, but just taking 10 minutes a day. And then it's like, okay, wait, that 10 minutes is up. I'm going to wrap it up and I'm going to move on to something else. That's giving me control. It's creating the balance that I need in order to take care of myself and be able to serve and show up throughout the rest of the day at a higher level.
I love that because sometimes we literally just need a couple minutes,
Yeah. Well, and the
whatever.
reason that I went
Yeah.
away from the phone was because I don't need another app for a shortcut to make things easier. Because when I go to hit the snooze or the off button on that alarm, it's drawing me back in. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to go look at social media. Oh, I'm going to check my email. Oh, I'm going to clear the notifications that are showing up. I don't need something else on my phone to help me navigate and manage my time better. And that's something personally for me that I have just struggled with in a lot of ways is where am I showing up? How am I showing up? But being effective in the ways that I do for whatever that reason of showing up is personal, professional, community, whatever. So I do believe in cultivating confidence with tools that help you perform and engage on a more confident level.
I love that. So here's a question for you. So for a woman who does not consider herself confident, and maybe she's still in the place where she's evaluating the people who are in her life right now. Maybe it's a boyfriend or a husband. Maybe it's family. Maybe it's like friends you've had for a gazillion years, but sometimes you're like, was that a compliment? Those people. So for that person who, let's say they're still on that journey of like still evaluating who they want in their lives, but they want to show up authentically as themselves. And maybe for the first time, they're figuring out who that is. What are your recommendations for that woman?
I think the biggest thing that she can do is journal. And there is so much science to back up writing things down on paper and getting it out of our head. Because the more that we keep inside in our heart, in our head, and we're not expressing that or not giving it a place to land, we're essentially carrying more and more and more of that load. But when we express it and have somewhere for it to go, wordly processing things is a really effective tool. If you have a trusted network of friends where you can show up messy, and we have our people to where we can show up messy with, that's another great tool to be able to show up in that space. Maybe you have a friend that says, hey, send me an audio message, because those things will disappear. We don't have to hang on to them, but it allows you to get it out. Holding it all inside is the least healthy thing that we can do. When I was going through a really heavy personal season at the beginning of 2025, this was the second identity rebuild that I mentioned earlier. My 8-year relationship ended without warning at a kitchen table on a Sunday morning. Saturday, we had all gone to dinner talking about future plans. Had no idea that Sunday morning he would sit down and tell me he was moving to another state the next day and that I needed to find somewhere else to live. After 8 years, where we had navigated unimaginable amounts of loss and grief. I had to figure out who I was all over again. My financial security was gone. My emotional security was gone. My mental security was gone. All of these things, the identity that I had carried with me for 8 years didn't exist anymore. And I was left holding the bag, wondering, who was I? How was I going to show up? How was I going to afford to keep showing up? Was I going to have to step back into a whole different way of doing life? Was I going to keep my business? Was I going to be forced to go get a clock in, clock out job that for me personally was not going to be the best for my mental capacity at all, and went against everything that I believed in. Thankfully, I was able to move in and stay with my dad, and I've been with him for the past year, just getting ready to step into my own home here in the next few weeks. But I gave myself 2 months. I said, okay, March 1st, I'm showing up and going back to my business. But I also did not pressure myself to go back to my business before I knew I was going to give myself time to breathe and put some pieces together. Because all the puzzle pieces were laying on the floor and in different cities. I had to move things from 2 different locations, 3 different locations. And I'm slowly starting to put all of those pieces back together in this new house. So it's navigating all of those things. I had to acknowledge them. I had to acknowledge that this is what it is. This is how it exists today, but also be aware that I had everything I needed, which was my heart, my head, my boundaries, and my people that I needed in order for those things to change in the best way possible. And it has not been sunshine and roses. It has not been easy. It has been very challenging. But for me to sit here and have this conversation with you today, I have more clarity over who I am, what I tolerate, what I do not tolerate, but also I'm 100% certain in who I am, what I stand for, and the legacy that I'm building for the world that I get to leave it with when my time is.
I think that's beautiful. And I'll just go back to something you said earlier, and that is the grieving. You said you need to give yourself time to grieve. I mean, that could be like grieving anything, grieving a friendship, a romantic relationship. I myself had to take time to grieve the idea that the relationships I had were not what I thought, and they were
Yeah.
never going to be. And that was probably the hardest for me.
Yeah.
I really think that, part of the beautiful part of your story where you're sitting here now being like such an amazing, confident woman with all of these things going on is because you did allow yourself to feel all the feelings. And I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Body Keeps a Score. The body keeps a score. And a mutual friend of ours talks about how she'll sometimes voice to text me and she'll be like, it's been such a day. I'm gonna go dance in my living room because that's her way of like getting it all out. So I like really want to acknowledge that sometimes the grief is not even what we think it is. You know what I mean? Sometimes it just keeps bubbling up and you just have to keep letting go.
Yeah. The bittersweet side of that is, yes, it's painful recognizing that things were not as what we hoped that they would be. But because these things have happened to me personally more than one time, I now have a quicker way to get to that discernment and recognizing that this is not what it is. This is not what I've hoped it would be. So I'm no longer going to pour my energy trying to make it into something that simply doesn't exist. And that's not my fault. That's not their fault. Perhaps I could have had conversations earlier to where we could have at one point come to an understanding to acknowledge and respect one another as individuals as we move through whatever was coming, but then also recognizing that just because the other person or whomever wants to feel better about something, their motives are now driven differently
Mm.
and it doesn't hold as much value anymore.
Hmm. That's a really interesting way of thinking of it. I love that.
It is not my responsibility to make somebody else feel better.
Yes, that's been a big lesson for me this year is I am not responsible for other people. I mean, obviously, like I'm responsible for my child, right? But I'm not
Right, right.
responsible. Yeah, I like, but I'm not responsible for other people who especially want to trample all over my boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's been such a good lesson to me because I'm like, nope. Nope. I'm just like, I have a
Yeah.
newfound
I had
sense of no.
yeah, I had someone tell me that they didn't talk to me until it was absolutely necessary because of an upcoming event, because my situation made them walk on eggshells.
Okay.
And number one, I did not apologize for my situation. I didn't cause my situation. Number two, I was under no obligation to make that person feel better about their eggshells because
Their
they
eggshells.
were not confident or courageous enough, nor did they have the respect for me as a person to even try to have a conversation because they had expectations that were unspoken. And quite honestly, I don't even think they realized that they had the expectations until I pointed out and asked what those expectations were because I didn't respond or carry forward or move in the direction they expected me to move in simply because I existed.
Hmm.
I just said a whole lot
Yeah.
in all of that. But the biggest takeaway that I want anyone to take from that is someone else's inability to communicate with you out of respect or concern is not your responsibility because I laid all of my communication out on the table and all of my brokenness. And for someone to tell me that they didn't say anything because they were afraid of saying the wrong thing led them to say nothing at all, that is on them.
Yeah.
I can't fix that for them. I just hope that they make that awareness something to consider in the relationships that really matter to them going forward.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
today, I have no desire to engage in therapy, counseling, or anything else to make that person feel better about her eggshells. I'm putting my life together. I'm recreating my identity. And at 50 years old, I'm not holding the eggs anymore.
Yeah. We need a t-shirt that says your eggshells are your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Go bake your own cake.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to switch gears for a second. And can we talk
Sure.
about color and clothes and how you're showing up physically in a room? And now that we've like talked a little bit more about our boundaries and all of those good things, how are we showing up and how can we be um this has been my question lately. How can I be the most authentic version of me, the me that I've been working on for a while? I like her and I want to show up more like me. And so how do I do that with like clothes and color and all the things?
So, number one, first and foremost, the work that you have done for yourself in this past year has been such an inspiration as somebody else for me, to have been on this identity hunt for the past year as well, to have a friend achieve and discover all of these really sweet, unique things about herself is incredibly inspiring. And I'm so thrilled to have had a front seat to everything that you've done. So,
Aw, that's
congratulations.
sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I encourage everyone before you open your closet, think about what your core values are. And when I say core values, these are the things that help you make decisions. Whether it's personal or professional, typically these things are going to be in alignment. So me, grace is a core value. I will give myself grace to be messy, but I will also give others grace when there is respect happening and they need to navigate things from where they're sitting. I'll extend that grace all day, but also communication. I have a value that says communication is the key to creating and cultivating confident relationships. I don't want relationships and connections and community with people that don't communicate. It makes it so much more challenging. And I don't have the energy nor the time because I move so fast to put those things together. I need somebody who's going to show up and say, hey, I do want to be open and communicate with you and lay all the things out on the table. Let's be open. So, core values. These things are, what are your metrics? Identify those pieces. Typically, it's going to be 3 to 5 words or phrases that drive you in the decisions that you make and how you show up in the world. Color psychology is a tale as old as time. When we look at marketing from corporate brands, influencers, TV personalities, you're going to start recognizing that there are certain colors that create certain emotional, subconscious reactions. So I've been doing a series on my social media throughout the past week about what different colors stand for, what they reflect and symbolize. And it's been super fun to see the comments coming through when people are like, I didn't know that's what that meant. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm thinking about my brand colors because they're this and this, but I feel more connected to this color. So color psychology is the science behind what colors create from an intrinsic internal space. Color analysis. Color analysis is when we have 4 seasons, the same 4 seasons as we do on the calendar. We've got summer, winter, autumn, and spring. They're put in categories of cool versus warm. There's too cool, there's too warm. And then taking your photo or a sit down and draping experience in person, depending on the service. All of mine is virtual, so it's done via Canva, online, via Zoom. We'll work through colors and identify the color palette made up of 35 different colors that allow you to be seen in your best light. So this is going to be colors that elevate and bring a little pink to your cheeks. They make your eyes pop, make your smile look bigger, make your jowls look thinner, maybe elevate and create more of an uplifting experience. When you look at clothes in your closet, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have colors in there that are outside of your color palette. My encouragement is don't throw away or get rid of those clothes unless you absolutely hate them and you're tired of them. By all means, get them out of the closet. But if you love wearing these colors, don't shy away from them, but be willing to accessorize to maybe break those colors up a little bit and have them play a secondary role in the way that you show up. Because when you walk into a room, you're already communicating with the people that are in it based on what you wear. It is that unspoken connection. And when you wear colors that are not supporting you at your best, you will be using more energy to create those connections. Whereas if you're showing up in colors that are working for you, those relationships are cultivated a lot quicker. Your energy output is lower, but you're also operating at a higher energy balance threshold, at a higher level, right? You're more excited, you're engaging because the color is working for you. So you're saving time, you're saving money by not buying clothes that don't work best for you in your color palette, but you're also saving time getting dressed in the morning because you know exactly what colors work for you. And when you brand your closet, you're branding your closet in seasons. So say I'm going to have a section in my closet that are in my winter color palette. And then I have other clothes that are not. So I'm going to put those off to the side and still be able to wear them, but pair them with accessories that support that winter palette. So it's a whole deep dive thing. I love aligning seasonal color analysis results, not only for getting dressed, but how do we bring these colors, maybe pick 4 or 5 of them that show up for you in your business or your personal brand. So you're creating that consistency. This is what you're known for. This is what you're always wearing. People expect to see you in these colors when you walk into a room.
Yes. And for those listening, Christy did a color analysis for me and we talked about branding and colors and in addition to the villain era, I have other things going on. Like I have a food blog. So she was talking with me about things like in videos, like I have white in my background because that's what I have in my kitchen. And Christy, you're going to laugh because the new house I just bought, everything is white. Everything. Right? And so I was thinking about like, how am I going to incorporate color? And I was thinking maybe like of buying more copper like copper pots and then displaying them out in the kitchen or things like that, But I found it was super helpful to not only have my color analysis done and find out that maybe pastels aren't my jam, but also to talk about branding and what you want people to feel when they think of your business and how color might play a role. And, in launching this podcast, obviously, like the name is My Villain Era. Well, so I have been showing up in darker colors because that's what you would expect from a villain. Villains don't typically wear white, right? So I've been having some fun being a little dramatic with that because that's the vibe of the business as well.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm decorating my new house as well and bringing in color, and there's a ton of natural light. I said moving in, I was like, I don't want anything gray. Well, the granite in my kitchen, all gray. The tile
There
backdrop
goes that.
is gray, but the cabinets are white. There's a ton of natural light everywhere. I've got these beautiful wood floors that just got installed, and I'm in love with them. They're divine. But I know that the gray is going to take a back seat because I've added in turquoise and red. My mom has or had, I have it now, this rooster, ceramic rooster utensil holder, and it's been on the kitchen counter here. I was like, this is my inspiration piece for my kitchen. Not that I necessarily wanted to be like, oh, I want roosters in my kitchen. No, but now I do. They remind me of my mom, but I love the color palette of the stinking rooster. I love it. It is bright, it is beautiful, it is a pop of color, and ultimately it brings me joy. It is not green and pink, which is the two colors in my brand, but what I am doing in my home office is I have picked out the color that I'm painting the accent wall in my office, which will be the backdrop to my Zoom once I'm all moved in over there. And there's a painting that goes with this, and I'm going to have the painting framed up on the wall. And it's beautiful. It's probably about 4.5 feet, 3.5, 4 feet wide. So it's sizable, but it's it's a street in a little French town, but it's got green and pinks worked into that fabric, and it's beautiful. It is a beautiful piece. It's very feminine, very delicate. But when I launched Cohesive Confidence, and I wrote about this today on my post, because pot pink is the color. Pink is the color of the day today over on my social media. And I said, when I started Cohesive Confidence, it was hot pink supported by dark green and gold. Those are the colors I wanted in my brand. I love them. They feel good. But the more I started showing up and creating connections, I felt like hot pink wasn't necessarily what I wanted to lead with because it didn't check all the boxes foundationally for what Cohesive Confidence stood for. Yes, it still exists in my brand, but I flipped the colors. So dark green is my root color, hot pink is the secondary color, and the gold is the accessory. So I have those three colors that are really showing up and working for me, but they resonate with what's in my closet. I still get to have fun and wear hot pink, but I am embodied in my business in that dark green, which is rooted in natural, relaxing, easygoing, but also very earthy and rich. And when we're talking about creating abundance and confidence, that's what I want that to be rooted in. I don't want it to be something that is synthetic or fabricated. To get hot pink, you've got to mix a bunch of colors to get the result that you want. But when I'm embodied in pink and I'm wearing pink, it's bold, it's courageous, it is fun, it is friendly, it is flirty. I want all of those elements to be part of that and balance out the psychology of what that green represents.
I love that. And I love how you can use color to represent and really tell your story without you even saying anything, right?
hmm Yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's communicating for me before I ever walk into a room. Someone's going to see me wearing dark green. I'm going to get just as many compliments in that dark green as I'm going to get in that hot pink. But both of those colors are in my color palette in my winter season.
Mm, I love that.
I did think of the way that I was showing up today for your podcast specifically, that I was not going to wear hot pink today because the villain doesn't really wear hot pink.
Right.
So
Yes.
I
But
did
she
play with
does do
some
what she
color. I
wants to
do have
do.
a little pink. Yeah. I do have a little pink on my eyeshadow. I am wearing a bit of a pink red lipstick today. So there's different ways to embody and embrace color without having to be drenched in it.
I love that. I love that. All right, Christy, as before we part, I would love for you to leave some words of wisdom with our friends who maybe they're not feeling really confident in their lives right now. Maybe they could use a boost or a tip or something that can help them create more confidence in their lives. What would you say to that woman?
I would tell her to pick one simple thing that she can do for herself today, whether that is soaking in a hot bathtub, whether that is washing her hair using a hair mask, maybe it is doing a collagen mask, maybe that's going to give yourself, reward yourself with a pedicure today because you can, not because anyone gave you permission, not because you have an event coming up, simply because you deserve something today that makes you feel better. So start there and then ask yourself, what can I do for me tomorrow? Keep stacking those wins. And eventually you get to the point that you know that you deserve to show up every single day as the confident, badass woman that you are.
I love that so much, Christy. Okay, I'm going to leave all of Christy's info in the description. You should check out her color analysis. Like I said, she did my color analysis and I thought it was super duper helpful. You could check out her color analysis, check out other things that she has going on, see how you can work with her directly because she is just a powerhouse. And believe me, you want to spend as much time with her as you possibly can. Okay, villains, until next time. Make sure you spend some time on yourself today. Be a little kinder to yourself. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.